All right, this is going to be a really fun lecture because we're going to learn how to make some money. Yes, your app's going to make some moolah for you. We're going to be learning about in-app purchases. So these are a great way for a user to check out your app, see if it's going to provide value for them, and if yes, allow them to purchase something. I think this is a lot better model than just having an app with a price straight up. It just allows users to kind of see what it is that they're getting into. So we're going to have to do a lot of things similar to when we're uploading an app to the App Store. We're going to be working with iTunes Connect a lot in order to make this work and that developer website. So let's go ahead and first to the developer website. And I guess before that, let's start our new Xcode project. So we are going to make a new project here. And our example app that we're going to be creating is an app where you can buy these gold packs. And so we're going to call it Gold Digger. So under iOS single view application, let's select that. I'm going to call it Gold Digger. Great. And we want to go ahead and put this on our desktop. Okay. Once we have that in place, we now have this bundle identifier, and we're going to use this inside of the developer website. So let's open up Safari. And let's head over to developer.apple.com. Okay, and we're going to go to account so that we can log in. All right, we've gone ahead and logged in here, which means we're ready to rock and roll. We want to go to the certificate IDs and profiles, and we want to make a new app ID for what we've created here. So I'm going to go to app IDs, hit plus, and I'm going to make a new app description here. This is Gold Digger. Great. And for the bundle ID, we want to go to Xcode and copy exactly what we had there. Come back, paste that in. So one of the app services that we definitely want to have selected here is in-app purchases, but you can see it's already selected for us, and we don't have a choice whether or not that's going to be included. It's always included. So we'll go ahead and hit continue here and register. That'll finally give us our app ID that we can use. Then we want to go ahead and hop over to iTunes Connect. So that is itunesconnect.apple.com. And when you log in here, we want to go to My Apps and make a new app that's going to be using this Gold Digger ID. So let's go ahead and hit that plus button for a new app. Under Bundle ID, we want to go ahead and choose the Gold Digger app. And it looks like it hasn't shown up. Sometime this can take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes in order to get set up. So while we're waiting for this to come through, we're going to go ahead and actually work on the visual part of the app. So here we are in Xcode. Let's go to the storyboard, and we're going to add a couple of things in here. So it's going to be a very simple app visually. The main thing that we're trying to focus on here is the code behind in-app purchases. So the first thing that we're going to have is a label that's going to describe the name of this in-app purchase. Next thing that we're going to have is a button so that the user can actually buy the particular item. So we're going to change this to say buy. And then we're going to have another label below that that shows what the result was. So we'll just rename this to result. Okay, and we're going to change this one up here to say name. So we got name, buy, and result. And I'm going to kind of space these out so that they're a little bit closer together. I know we weren't focusing on how things look, but I just kind of had to get those things a little bit closer. Okay, so now that we have those, let's go ahead and do the split screen so that I can make outlets for both these labels and then an action for this button. So I'm going to take this name label, do a control drag. I'm going to call this name label, very straightforward. And similar thing with the result. I'm going to control drag and call this result label. Great. Then down below, we don't need this did receive memory warning. Goodbye, my friend. Then we're going to do a control drag into here so that we can add a new action. And we're just going to call this buy tapped. Okay. So this is kind of the starter pack for our app. We've got the two name labels, well, the name and the result, and then also this buy action ready to rock and roll. Let's go ahead and see if we've made any progress here about this updating. So I'm going to reload this page, and I'm going to add a new app for bundle ID. And look at that, Gold Digger has shown up. So we'll go ahead and select that. I'm going to call this Gold Digger here. Primary language, I want English US. And for the SKU, I'm just going to put something random in here like we did before with Gold Digger at the front. Okay, so we got to make sure that we select iOS there. I was wondering, why is that create button not showing up? Well, that was the case. So it looks like there was already an app called Gold Digger. So we're just going to call this Gold Digger in-app purchase test. Okay, and down here, it looks like I accidentally added some parentheses and stuff, so I'll just add some more letters. Okay, so now that create went just fine. So the next thing that we want to do is we want to click on features here, and we want to create an in-app purchase. So that's the top selection that's up here. If we go ahead and hit this plus button, basically the idea is in iTunes Connect, this is where you make in-app purchases, and then you can load them up and show them on your iOS app. So there's 4 main types of in-app purchases: consumable, non-consumable, auto-renewable, and non-renewing subscription. The auto-renewable, this is going to be typically if you have some sort of app that provides a service over and over again, like Netflix, for example, they're an auto-renewable subscription. The non-renewing subscription, I'll be honest, this isn't used very much, but most commonly you're going to see one of these two. So consumable is something that you can use again and again. So for example, in any app when you're buying coins or gold or stuff like that, that's a consumable in-app purchase. Non-consumable is, for example, if you buy the ad-free version of an app, that would be a non-consumable, because it's like once you buy this, you should have this for the existence of the app. So let's go ahead and select consumable here, and we're going to create a new one. So come on, iTunes Connect, load the page. We'll wait for you here. Okay, that finally came through. So we want to go ahead and give this a reference name about what it is, and I'm just going to call it Gold to be very simple, and we have to give it a product ID. Now, what I really recommend for product ID is you could call it something as simple as Gold, but typically what I do is I'll take the name of our bundle identifier here, right, like the com.zappycode, blah, 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 all that stuff. I paste this in, then I usually do dot and then the name of whatever it is that I'm selling. So for example, in this case, gold. So you don't have to follow this convention, but I think it's very good, safe way to do this. So make sure you have cleared for sale there selected. For pricing, let's go ahead and choose a price. I like the price of 99 cents. In fact, well, this is some intense gold. Let's go ahead and bump the price to like $9.99, okay? So you have to give this a display name. I'm just going to call it gold, and then a description. This is some nice gold, smiley face. Okay. Then you have to provide a screenshot. And if you're wondering, well, what's this review information? Every in-app purchase that you create has to be approved by Apple. So you have to provide a screenshot of what your in-app purchase looks like. So we haven't even gone and created ours, but let's just go ahead and run our simulator. I'm not actually going to be submitting this to Apple, because you can actually create one of these without getting it approved if you're just going to be testing it. And that is our case, but we do have to have a screenshot. So I'm going to go ahead and run our app here just so that we have something that we can show. So here came the simulator. I'm going to go ahead and do a Command S to take a screenshot. Then for the screenshot, I can say choose file, and on the desktop, I'll just use the simulator screenshot there. Okay. So once you have this all in place, go ahead and hit save, and that'll take a second to finish. Awesome. Oh, it's telling me can only contain alphanumeric numbers. Oh, so it doesn't like the dash that I have here. So I might just have to say Gold Digger with no dash. Let's see if Apple's happy with this now. And dun, 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 dun. There we go. Looks like it came through. Awesome. So the next thing that we need to do is go to iTunes Connect. And in order to work with this, we have to go in and create a test user. So go ahead and select this users and roles. And once we're in here, we want to make a new test user that can sort of work with this. So if we want to, we're going to go over here to our sandbox testers. And here you can see I have a couple of these already loaded inside of here, but we're going to add a new one. So for example, I'm going to add a new one, give it a name, just Joe Schmo, something like that. For the email, you want it to be an email that's unique. It can't be the one for your iTunes Connect. So for example, you can take, if you have an email or a Gmail address, you can take that Gmail address and add a plus at the end of it and do whatever you want at the end. So you could just put like a number here or something. I typically like to do whatever password I set for this just so that I know what the password is when I'm trying to work through here. So I'm just going to do this at gmail.com, and I'm going to put something after that plus here in a second. So for the password, Apple has all sorts of requirements. I think you need like a capital letter and a number and stuff. So I'm going to maybe do something like this. I'm going to do password1 and then like an @ sign. I can't do @. Maybe password1. Let's just see if Apple is okay with that. So I'm going to copy this, paste it there, paste it here. Secret question, how are you today? I am great. This is just kind of silly stuff. We're just trying to get through here. It's just a test user. And then for the App Store territory, use your location. I'll use United States. Then we'll go ahead and hit save. So here it comes. So email address is not available for use as an Apple ID. So it's not acknowledging that password. Maybe I've already used that before. Let's see if I use password like 8, for example. If Apple's a little bit happier with that. No, they're not. So it wasn't allowing me to create these emails like I had before where I could just put a plus and then, say what the password was for that particular test account. So I just ended up making up some random email like testingcheckit123@gmail.com, and it eventually worked there. And it made me choose a more complex password than I had. So once you have this all in place, we're good to go with iTunes Connect. Now we want to get back to the code and start working through what should happen when someone wants to buy an in-app purchase. All right, so let's go ahead and move over to Xcode. And with our project, the first thing that we want to do is we want to go over to this capabilities tag, make sure you have the target of your app selected. And we want to make sure that we have in-app purchases switched to on. So we're going to go ahead and switch this. It's going to ask you to choose a team. So if you work through that uploading your app to the App Store, you should have a team connected with your Xcode account. And once you've done that, let's move back to our view controller. And for the code that we're going to write, we're going to be working with something called StoreKit. This is Apple's code to be working with in-app purchases. So we're just going to type up here import StoreKit. Now we should be able to use all of that. Now in the view did load, this is where we have to set things up to go ahead and buy something. So the first thing we need to do is say what products somebody wants to buy. Now if your app is going to have lots of products, you would add a list of these. We only have one in our case, but we still need to make a set to hold all of those. So I'm going to say let product IDs be of type. We want it to be a set, and the things that are going to be in the set are strings. Okay, so we'll just do capital string there, and we're going to set this equal to a set where the item inside of here, we want to get the product identifier for our in-app purchase. So we're going to go back to iTunes Connect under My Apps. Let's move into the Gold Digger app, and we're going to go to Features, In-App Purchases, and then we're going to copy this product ID that we have there. All right, so we'll go ahead and paste that in, ready to rock and roll. Next step that we need to do is we need to go ahead and make a product request. So to make a product request, you do sk product request. And if we do this opening parentheses, you can see it's looking for a set of strings, just like we had created. So we're going to add product IDs right inside of there, and we're going to give a name to this. We're going to call it let product request. I'm just going to call it prod rec for short. Okay, be equal to this. Then once we have this product request, we have to say whose delegate it is, saying, when they get back some information, it's going to tell us. So we're going to say prod request dot delegate, and we're going to set that equal to self. Once we've gone ahead and done that, we want to take this product request and we want to do a dot start, which will go ahead and go fetch these. So the idea with in-app purchases is that before you can have somebody buy something, you have to go check from the App Store and see if they're available. And the reasons for this is, the prices for in-app purchases are going to be different depending on what locale the user is in. Maybe you've suspended that particular in-app purchase from the store and you don't want to tell the user that they can go ahead and buy that. So this is where you want to do that check. And this is where you have to go request this information to make sure that you can sell it. So this is giving us an error because I said this view controller would be a delegate, but we haven't set up the protocol here. So I'm going to say sk product request delegate as the protocol here. And then once we've done that, that error will go away. But then we get a new error because it's like, hey, you haven't implemented the proper functions. So the one that we're going to do here is if you just start typing out product request, you can see it's going to give you back some information about what happened when you went and made that request. So we're going to do a little print inside of here that just tells us that we made it. So I'm going to say loaded products. Great. Now the next thing that we need to do is move through the products that they've given us. So in order to get to these products in this response object that they've given us, SK product response, I'll just go ahead and type here. So response, if we do a dot products on this, you can see it gives us an array of these SK products. So let's go and do a for loop on this. We're going to say for product in response.product. So this nice little for loop that goes through each. We just want to print out some information about the particular product. So we're going to say print, and what we want to put inside of here is we're going to say product with a colon, and then we'll just start typing some information. So the first thing is here inside of the product, we can get to its identifier. So if you just do dot product identifier, we can see that. If we do a space, the next thing that we could potentially look at in here is if we say product, we can say dot localized description, title. We could see the description if you wanted, but we didn't really do much with that, so that's okay. So we'll do localized title. And the other thing that we'll look for is the price. So this one's really important because if you ever decide to change the price of your product or whatever, you want to go ahead and let someone know that you've changed this. So we're going to do product.price and then dot float value, and that's going to tell you what the particular value of that is. So let's go ahead and run this and see if we can't get this to work out. So in our view did load, we're going to say give us this one particular product, and if we hear back from the store, it should print out. And look at that. It's telling us here's some gold. It's got the title of gold. It's $9.99, and there's that product identifier that we have. So once we've gotten to this point, the user is then able to go ahead and buy something, and we'd want to let them know that that's the case. So we're going to do a little bit of work of updating labels, and then we'll move into buying. So let's go ahead and update our label, the name label, to have the name of this in-app purchase that we have here. So we're going to say in-name label dot text, and we're going to set this equal to product dot localized title. Okay, so that'll go ahead and show up there. That's great. Then when someone hits buy, we want to run some code. So to know what product it is that they're going to buy, we want to use this actual product that we have right here. We're going to go ahead and make a new variable at the top here, a property called active product. Okay, and we're going to set this thing, or say that it's going to be of type SK product. And initially we'll just have it be an optional here, so it will be equal to nil. Then once we have that in place, we can say, okay, we're going to set the title, and we're going to say active product should be equal to the product that we have loaded here. So then when somebody wants to buy something, we want to make sure that we can go ahead and do that. So the first thing is unwrapping that optional. So we're going to say if let active product be equal to active product. Go ahead and do that so that we can unwrap it. Then what we're going to say is, announce kind of at the console that we're going to be buying things. So we're going to say print buying ... so then they know that that's going on. Next thing that we need to do is create an SK payment option. So we're going to do SK payment with the parentheses. You can see it's looking for a product. So here we'll pass active product. And once we have that in place, we'll want to go ahead and actually initiate this payment. So we should put this inside of a constant. I'm going to say let payment be equal to this. And then we'll say, okay, SK payments, SK payment queue dot default dot add. And we add this payment, which adding a payment basically says allow the user to go ahead and make this purchase. So we're going to type in payment right there, and that's ready to go. So technically, we could go ahead and fire up our app and see this go, but in order to see what kind of response we get back when the user tries to buy this, we need to go ahead and add some observers and whatnot, and I'm going to walk you through that now. All right, so to go ahead and see what sort of response that we're going to get back, we have to work with that queue that we saw earlier here. So what we're going to do inside of view did load, so we're going to say that get to that SK payment queue dot default. Then we're going to say dot add, and we're going to add an observer, which is an SK payment transaction observer. So if we go ahead and add self, that means we're going to have to make this an SK payment, not queue, transaction observer. Okay, so that'll work. But if we go ahead and do a build here, this is going to bark because it's saying, hey, you don't have the proper functions in here. And there's a couple of different functions, but the one that we're looking for is if you just start typing payment. There's a few that we've got here, but we're looking for updated transactions. So we're going to double click on this updated transaction. This lets you know whenever something new happens inside of the transaction. So you could have multiple in-app purchases going on, and in that case you get back this transactions, which is an array of SK payment transactions. So we have to loop through these. So we're going to say for transaction in transactions with an S. There we go. Then it's going to, on a particular transaction, you can see what state the transaction is. So we're going to do a switch on that. We're going to say switch, and then in parentheses here, we're going to say take the transaction that we have, and we're going to say dot transaction state. Excellent. And we'll do our curly brackets with that. So there's a couple of different cases that could come here. So for example, if I say case dot, we could do dot purchase, and if I do that dot, you can see all the different ones that are here. But the big one that we're looking for is dot purchased. This would mean everything went well and is ready to rock and roll. So if something was purchased, we want to confirm that everything went okay. This is where you would want to provide our quote-unquote digital gold to somebody. So what we're going to say here is we're going to take that SK payment queue. We're going to do our dot default, and then we're going to finish that transaction by saying finish transaction, then provide the transaction that we have. Okay. So after we've done that, we want to let the user know that this all worked out. So we're going to say result label.text, and we're going to set this equal to you got some gold or something like that. Okay. So that's one particular case that we could work through. Another one is if it failed. So we're going to say case.failed, and our little colon there. So in this case, things didn't go well. In that case, we want to, just sort of end this transaction. So we're going to do finish transaction as well. So we're going to copy and paste that. And then in the results, this is where we'd want to print some information that say, something like something went wrong. Okay. So there's a couple of different options there, and you have to provide a case for each of them. So in this last one, we're just going to handle everything by saying default. Put our little colon there, and we're just going to do a break that says, okay, just go ahead and do nothing when this happens. All right. All right. Now that we've gone ahead and got that in place, in order to test in-app purchases, you have to have a physical device. Now you can go see the product ID if you want to with the simulator, but to actually test the purchase, you got to have a device. So I've got my iPhone plugged in. I'm recording the screen. I'm going to go ahead and run this on my phone here. Okay, and when it opens up, it's going to load everything. Now, the one thing is you're going to want to actually log into your Apple account with the test username that you have. So, for example, I want to use this testingcheckit123@gmail.com. So you're going to want to go into your settings app, go to iTunes and App Store, and in here, just make sure you're signed out so it shows a screen like this that's showing you're ready to rock and roll, that you're not signed into any particular Apple account. So once you've done that, go ahead and hit run on the app one more time on your phone. Okay, and we're going to see this pull up here. Exciting moment. And so there's gold. That means we're ready to buy. I'm going to tap on that. I'm going to say use existing Apple ID, and I'm going to input that testing check it. I better make sure I've got the actual email here. So testing check it, and then I want to do 123@gmail.com. And then for the password, I'll do what I created earlier. It was like red shirt 1234. Then I hit buy. Okay. So if you've inputted that correctly, you should say confirm. Do you want to buy this? Oh, look how cool this is. We got it working. Okay. And then you can see environment sandbox. So, this isn't the real deal. So I hit buy, And then, dun, 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 you're all set. Your purchase was successful. And that label, it should be showing that all caps, you got some gold or whatever. Now, it's kind of shrunken down because the label, we didn't expand it to where it should be. We should have done auto constraints, but we're not trying to visually create a really cool app. I just wanted you to see the guts of working with in-app purchases. So it took a little bit of time to get here, but pretty cool how quickly you can get an app up and running and accepting payments. I love how easy Apple has made this for us. So if you have any other questions, please leave a comment to this video. If you want to hear about the other types of in-app purchases, tons of great tutorials out there about that. But we still got more to cover here, 3 more things that we're going to dive into. Let's go ahead and keep moving.